Before we get to that top story, Alex, you have just suffered a mugging on Oxford Street in the middle of London. Tell us about this.
I really did. So I was going to the Samsung shop to send my phone to have a check because the screen's gone a bit funny. I then went to grab a bite to eat between shows, and I'm walking down Oxford Street, 11:30 in the morning, broad daylight, and I feel a yank. And someone's like going for my handbag. The phone's in my hand like this. And this kid on a bike karate chopped my arm, causing the phone to fall to the floor, which in a way was good because then he'd have had to get off his bike to pick it up. So he just sped off. And I remember shouting, "You boop," after him. But then after about 20 seconds, when it sort of, you know, settled in what had happened, I had a bit of a panic attack, if I'm honest. I couldn't breathe and I got a bit tearful. 11:30 in the morning.
But as we were saying, look, maybe you want to give us a ring. Have you suffered this sort of thing? Because I think it's becoming more and more prevalent, and we're all well used to the police not walking the local beat, but perhaps they ought to walk up and down Oxford Street, where this is happening more and more. So give us a call about that, 0344 499 1000. We'll return to it later, but now back to our top story, and the Justice Secretary, Alex Chalk, is in talks with senior judges to speed up the appeals of those wrongly convicted in the Post Office scandal. In the past few minutes, former Post Office Chief Executive Paula Venables has released a statement saying, "I have so far maintained my silence as I considered it inappropriate to comment publicly while the inquiry remains ongoing and before I have provided my oral evidence. I am, however, aware of the calls from sub-postmasters and others to return my CBE. I have listened and I confirm that I return my CBE with immediate effect." Meanwhile, Alex Chalk has told the Commons he is actively considering a bill to quash all the convictions.
Until those convictions are overturned, the victims cannot claim compensation. We can do something good, Mr. Speaker, together, if the Justice Secretary would bring a simple bill to quash all 800 immediately.
I'm very grateful to the right honourable gentleman who, with his customary precision, puts his finger on this appalling injustice. The suggestion he made is receiving active consideration. I expect to be able to make further announcements shortly.
Well, the government is under pressure to overturn the convictions after the release of the ITV drama Mr Bates versus the Post Office, which tells the story of more than 700 sub-postmasters who were victims of faulty Horizon software.
Among those were Wendy Buffery, a former sub-postmistress, who was sentenced to a community sentence and ordered to pay more than £26,000 in compensation.
And Christopher Head, once the youngest sub-postmaster in Britain, he was accused of theft and fraud by the Post Office in 2015.
Alicia, TalkTV's political correspondent, is still with us in the studio. I mean, practically, in real terms at Parliament, has he got time? We're hearing that he's going to try and get this through by the end of the week. Is that feasible?
I mean, I always really like to push this because I think it's really true. A lot is possible in politics, and I think often politicians try and make us feel like nothing can ever be done and they actually can never find a solution. But I actually think they do actually have the power to do this. It will be difficult. There are lots of obstacles there, and lots of people will argue that by overriding the courts here, it's actually meddling with a process that is actually a legal process. So there is a lot at stake. Whether or not they can do it, it is a doable thing, and it would make a lot of people happy, but there are things to overcome. That's the problem.